Okay. Today we will be studying evaluation phase. Okay, another phase in VM process. Okay, so probably we have reached until here. So definitely we will complete evaluation phase today. And then if possible, we will try to move into development phase as well. But most likely we cannot finish the development phase today lah. But anyhow, we will try to at least to study some of the content. Okay, some of the content because next week, because supposedly next week uh, we will be entering. We need to complete the development phase and then we need to see the presentation phase. So for the presentation phase, definitely we will know what are the typical VM report that actually you shall consist, and then what are the content usually you will present, including some of the what call example. Okay, so most likely this will be more pertaining to your assignment lah. Okay, of course, what you have learned so far, actually all you need to adopt in your assignment. Okay, so probably next week we need to complete your presentation phase. Okay, so we will see what happened to evaluation phase today. Okay, so for today, I try to be slow. But anyhow, we will try to finish it. Okay, so we move on. Okay, so as an abstract, what actually is evaluation phase about? Okay, so if let's say you still can recall from last Saturday, you have learned the credit phase, right? So credit phase is mainly to generate quantity idea. Okay, so for this stage, definitely is talk about your judgment and evaluation. Okay, so here, idea generated from the evaluation stage are then judged as to their merits and demerits. So actually, you might notice that there's a keywords, they are judged, and then right now we are talk about in relation to their advantage and disadvantage. Okay, and then those ideas which are found impractical, irrelevant, or not worthy of additional study are disregarded. So that means that those unwanted idea, impractical idea, irrelevant idea, not worth idea, you are abandoned. You will leave it aside. But anyhow, you must be recorded. Okay, you must take note. You must take note. You must jot down. Okay, those ideas that have potential for value enhancement in respect of quality, functions, and optimization of cost and time to the project, system, product, and services are then developed further. I think it's quite clear cut. So that means that the remaining, those beneficial idea will be continue with the further development. Okay, so meaning to say that right now you can see that for these stages, for this stage, is mainly to help you to filter your idea. Okay, to filter your idea so that you can use it for the development. This stage is just like your FYP stage, whereby you have just collected back your data, but before the analysis. Okay, so actually it's some sort like the process in between these two. So you just complete your data collection, but before your data analysis. So in between, most likely you have to analyze first. Okay, you need to analyze plot. You need to evaluate first. That means you need to filter first. Okay, you need to filter. You need to judge which of the ideas, which of the data you can use, so that the remaining one you only use it for your analysis. So similar idea here. Okay, so that's the main purpose of evaluation phase. Okay. Okay, here. So Ted Engstrom highlighted that, okay, concentrated on the essential. Okay, we will then be accomplishing the greatest possible result with the effort expended. So meaning to say that here you try to highlight, okay, you need to focus on the essential. Okay, focus on essential means that you are trying to focus those needed. Okay, so once you focus to the those needed, so definitely you can incur the greatest possible result. Okay, you can incur the desired result with the effort you have spent to it. Okay, this is what Ted Engstrom highlighted. Okay, so if let's say right now we link it to VM, we link it to VM. Okay, so if let's say we link it to VM, you see, the VM actually is to provide the proposal which can be implemented. So that means that you are focusing the greatest potential. Okay, you post for your VM, your proposal, you need to be workable, ma. I think most of you have aware, ma, right? Not only it can benefit to the client, not only it can enhance the value, not only it can enhance the quality, optimize cost, okay, function oriented, but most important actually is your idea is workable, ma. Okay, and then it's feasible and workable, ma. So that means that these are the essential. Okay, so it is therefore important to ensure that the proposal are comprehensively throughout, support with detailed calculation and ambiguous. Okay, so meaning to say that, so for your VM proposal, so usually all your proposal actually they are comprehensively uh, uh, thought out. What is mean by comprehensively thought out? That means that you have been studied in very detail, has been evaluated from different dimension. Okay, not only that, not only you evaluate from different dimension, but at the same time it also come with some backup technical data. What does mean by backup technical data? For instance, like you have the detailed calculation. Okay, you have the logic behind. You able to prove, you able to show people how actually you get the cost. Okay, and then they are ambiguous. That means that they is without the doubt. Without the doubt. So without the doubt means to say that the working method actually is workable. So that means that everyone they are free to challenge. Okay, challenge the working method, working methodology. So once all of this doubt has been clear, so that means that actually is without any ambiguous law, without any ambiguity law. So that's why your VM always is always in such that your proposal not only is evaluated by everyone, but at the same time it comes with the detailed calculation, detailed technical support. Okay, so this is what the uniqueness of VM is lah. Okay, if let's say right now we link it to we try to associate the whole thing here, the whole the whole concept we highlight here, okay, to the evaluation phase. How the evaluation phase can help you to incur the result we mentioned earlier. Okay, how actually we can ensure that, oh, and out we really can focus on the essential, then and now we really can the result is workable, the result is feasible. Okay, so for evaluation phase, under the evaluation phase, the objective of the evaluation phase is to screen the ideas generated during the creative phase, so that the best idea, as I mentioned, the best idea will be selected for the development. Okay, so here he mentioned that first thing, You are to screen. That means that you are to know your idea first during the creative phase, and then you only choose the best of it. Okay, so this one has been mentioned. But after you have chosen it, you have chosen the best idea, actually you will reserve it for the development. Okay, so development will be the subsequent stage lah, in other words. Or you can say that actually it is to reduce the large number of ideas generated during the brainstorming to a number which can be managed. Okay, so as if let's say you have aware during the last week, so we talk about the brainstorming, because usually in the brainstorming session, if let's say you are talking about a fruitful discussion, fruitful brainstorming, so sometimes you can generate the ideas up to 100. So right now you are talking about how you going to manage with this 100 idea, correct? So of course, not 100 idea you will be using, utilized. So definitely those relevant to the proposal, those relevant to the issue, you will only adopt it. So right now, what you need to do, definitely you need to filter it out. Okay, you need to filter it out. It's just like the Olympic teams lah. So you have so many participants, you have so many players. So how you going to give the medal? So definitely you only give the best. Okay, so similar idea here. So you are going to reduce the large number of idea. Okay, and then you reserve continue develop for the remaining one. But those, as mentioned, those what I call discharge idea, those abandoned idea, you must record it down. The reason is that because most likely, who knows, perhaps maybe suddenly in another scenario or in another project, you come across a similar idea. So actually those idea which you want to use, you still have the reference. Okay, so that's the purpose. Actually, you want to keep those abandoned ideas lah. Okay, so how you going to reduce the number? Most likely, you need to consider both merit and demerit, pro and cons, or you call advantages and disadvantages lah. Then of course here you need to should be objectively evaluate. So that means that you should based on really what I call objectively, you should really based on the project scenario, project fact, rather than just based on your own personal preference. Okay, so your own personal preference should not come in, but you should use your professional judgment instead. All right. Okay, we move on. Okay, here. So usually, since here actually you're going to do the judgment, okay, you need to do your judgment. So although judgment is required, but usually any criticism should be constructive. Okay, here actually there's a highlight one thing. Here actually you can criticize, no problem, but make sure that the criticize actually is in a good way. So meaning to say that those constructive comment are always welcome. Okay, so you can remember this constructive comment. Okay, the keyword is constructive. Okay, constructive, this adjective word actually is important. So you talk about constructive comment. Okay, because when you have the constructive comment, in certain extent, you are helping to improve that method. Because you will notice that for this constructive comment is that it can help you to pinpoint, it can help you to highlight those shortcomings or those what I call shortcoming you might have overlooked. Okay, so usually constructive comment is more wanted rather than destructive comment. Okay, what is mean by destructive comment? Destructive comment is that just for the sake of comment, then you just purposely just for the sake for comment. So rather than you helping the idea, rather than you helping to generate a more rounded idea. So usually destructive comment usually is unwelcome. In certain extent, we don't like it at all. Okay, because constructive comment does not help at all. And others, okay, if let's say you talk about the destructive comment, one of the example that I can give is that, okay, let's say right now we talk about an idea. We talk about an idea. Okay, so if let's say right now I ask you all and the opinion. So if let's say end out you just only comment, you just only comment that, oh, your idea cannot work. Okay, you only mentioned that your idea cannot work. Your idea have this limitation. Okay, that's all. But after that, you didn't suggest any improvement to it. So that means that you only tell people, okay, this thing not good, but you didn't tell how you can improve it. Actually, this is one of the bad example lah. Okay, this is one of the what I call a typical type of destructive comment. You only comment that this is not good, but you didn't tell how to improve it. You didn't suggest how your idea works better. Most of the time, actually, we will what call in our daily life, when you come to work, very often you will encounter this kind of situation. So meaning to say, most of the time you only tell people, okay, your idea actually not really good. That's all. But you didn't tell how you can improve from that. So meaning to say, you only for the sake of commenting only. Okay. If let's say for a more rounded or constructive comment, you will tell people, yeah, your idea have this kind of limitation, you have this kind of shortcoming, so you can improve from here. So these are the things actually you can do subsequent. You can you can think from this direction, you can do for this plan, and so on. So actually you are telling people how actually you can further improve. So if let's say you are what called give the comment in this kind of direction, then actually you can perceive as a constructive comment. Okay, so that's why right now, when this is a little bit out of topic. So right now, when we talk about this ICT, okay, we talk about the IR 4.0 in construction or digitalized construction. Okay, in certain extent, we can say this kind of technology, this kind of tool system, actually they are what call the constructive what call constructive what is the name already? Constructive technology. Cannot say constructive technology. Should use the word this constructive technology, but will diminish certain job. Okay, so I rephrase. So actually talk about your digitalized constructions, you talk about the IR 4.0, those are the constructive technology, but actually will diminish certain role, certain job. Okay, why I say actually it's a constructive, although just now I mentioned it will diminish certain job, but at the same time it create a new job. Okay, just like for instance, let's say you will say that, oh yeah, QS will be diminished. Okay, or there will be a threat to QS when digitalized construction is adopted. Yes, in certain extent, yes. Let's say talk about your traditional job, traditional role like measurements. Okay, you can be replaced by this AI, by this digitalized. Yes, I agree. But don't forget, at the same time, a new role will be created. Let's say you talk about BIM coordinator. Okay, BIM manager. So when this new role actually is created, actually at the same time, okay, it distract some of the traditional role. So there's That's why sometimes we call this as a creative destruction. Creative destruction. Okay, so at the same time I create something, but at the same time I what I call diminish something. We will call this as the creative destruction. Okay, so similar in your evaluation phase, you should have the constructive comment or creative construction comment. So actually is to help you to let your idea to work better. Okay, here criticism is one of the few things that people would rather give than receive. This is very common now. So meaning to say that people tends to criticize, okay, rather than accept the criticism. Most of the time, they tends to only criticize but not to receive. Okay, so right now, actually, we should learn as well lah. We in certain extent, we should learn the criticism. We should hear the criticism. Of course, it's those constructive criticism. From there, actually can work better. Okay, so therefore, since you talk about this criticism, so therefore it is necessary to exercise the professional courtesy. That means that you need to execute your professional judgment in very careful way lah. Okay, when you're scanning your idea, you need to have your own professional practice. So no matter you cannot just for the sake of comment or for the sake to criticize, then actually you just do that. No, you should use your professional knowledge, and you need to use your professional practice in evaluating the idea. Okay, so actually to avoid some bias, of course this is the ideal situation I mean, okay, it's the ideal situation. Okay, so next here, okay, notwithstanding the method of generation, it tends to be an emotional adrenaline fuel activity, after which follow the consider judgmental phase. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, this means that actually during your creative phase, because you keep on thinking, you keep on discussing, okay, you keep on what I call discuss with your team member. So what happened is that your adrenaline fuel. That means that actually your body actually right now it seems like it's full of the energy. Your body actually is full of the energy. So right now it's just like for the evaluation phase, it's just like your what called your buffering phase, because the previous activity you are so energetic in discussing, okay, in what I call in thinking. So right now for the evaluation phase, actually it's some sort like the buffering zone to let you to what I call to calm down, okay. So therefore usually for your evaluation, it will be arranged in such that you will have the break between your creative phase and your evaluation phase. So usually, because you want to have the buffering, you need to have the rest time, because the previous activity you have so energetic, okay, you keep on thinking and so on. So for the subsequent stage, before it happens, you need to let your mind to cool down, to calm down, okay. After that, so that you have what called a more steady mind when come to the evaluation phase. So usually what that happen is that usually they will be arranged in that your brainstorming session, it can be end. That means that it can be end as the last activity of the first day. Okay, then subsequently the next day only subsequent with the evaluation phase. At least that means that you have a time in between for you to rest. If let's say those phase happen within the same day, so in the middle, definitely you need to introduce the refreshment break. Okay, because actually it's to cool down, or to calm down your mind. Okay, that's the reason. Of course, provided you really dedicated yourself into the VM workshop. Okay, of course, I'm not talking about those actually not dedicated themselves in the workshop. If let's say you are, I mean, those not dedicated at all, so definitely you are slipping from the early stage until the last stage. Right now, I'm talking about those actually they really listen, they really dedicated in the workshop. So if let's say they really participate, so actually they really know what happens. Okay, so actually that's the reason why actually you need to give the break. Just like I mentioned, if let's say really a fruitful section, you can up to 300. So just by a team member, you can come out with 300. So that means that actually it's a very what call very energetic session. All right. Okay, here right now we will look into the procedure, or in other words the distinct activity. Okay, so this one is important for this five procedure. We talk about is a distinct activity. Okay, procedure lah, put it simple. So we will be having 5. You need to set your criteria. You present idea. You apply evaluation technique. You conduct reliability check and allocate idea for development. So you have 5. So we will be looking each of them one by one. First, we move into the set evaluation criteria. Okay, of course, as mentioned, because you have a lot of idea, correct? You have a lot of idea generated. So the first thing you need to do, you need to set your idea. And that means that you need to set what are your evaluation criteria, so that you can filter your idea, your previous generated idea. So you need to tell people what are the evaluation criteria you look for. What are the criteria that actually client needs? Okay, so the VMTC may prompt a discussion on the evaluation criteria to apply during the review of idea. So meaning to say that the VMTC lah, okay, so the VMTC can discuss with the team. Okay, you can discuss with the team to highlight or to what call to note, to list down what are the evaluation criteria to be. Okay, so that you can evaluate for the idea. Okay, so while this idea may differ with the individual idea, it is useful to sensitize the team member to the broad criteria that should be considered as well to their order of significance. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, meaning to say that right now, because you are talking about a group of team member, so some more your team member, a group of team member, they are from different background. So when you talk about the evaluation criteria, definitely each of the profession, they might have their own preferred criteria. So therefore, the VMTC actually they need to be very sensitive in such that they should be know, okay, what are the criteria concerned by each of the member. So of course, it try to sense what are the criteria that look for. Okay, what are the criteria that look for, as well as the order of significance. Order of significance meaning to say that which criteria they are more emphasized. Okay, so that means that right now the VMTC they need to know. Okay, we have so many members here. So each of the member they have their own criteria, their preferred criteria. So you have your own preferred criteria. Of course, you know that which criteria actually come first, which criteria actually is more needed. So right now, the VMTC they need to have a sense that they need to be identified that each of the person, what are their preferred criteria. Okay, then after that, they only come out a consensus criteria. They only determine what are the agreed criteria to be used for the item or for the system or for the proposal. Clear? So meaning to say that you have many people. So right now you try to understand each of them, what are their preferred criteria. Okay, then after that, okay, we only determine what are the agreed criteria to be used. So that means that everyone, they have the chance. They have the chance to voice out. Okay, what are their what is their concern? Then end up we just come to a compromise proposal, or agree proposal, agree criteria. Okay. So usually lah, of course, your criteria your criteria against which idea should be judged will differ. Of course, different project, they will have different criteria to be used. Okay, but typically most of the time your technical criteria usually will cover the rest most of the time, I would say. Okay, so of course you will notice that here it seems like, sir, we only have we only need to cover 4 cost, function, time, general, that's all. So simple only 4. Of course no, because the cost here, it covered it. I mean the four technical criteria here, they are covered they covered in a very broad scope. So meaning to say that under the cost here, I have the respective sub criteria. Okay, respective sub criterion, similar to function, similar to time, similar to general. Okay, so if let's say you want to know what are the costs actually you will be considered, what are the function will be considered, what are the criteria will be considered, time as well as time. So we can see it, we can try to see it. Okay, so if let's say we really want to look into it, okay, you can refer to the handout. Okay, you can refer to the handout. Okay, evaluation phase additional notes 1. You can refer to this handout. Then you can see here the evaluation criteria most of the time. Okay, those technical one. Okay, I try to make it larger, the screen, so that everyone can see. Okay, so of course here we can talk about cost. Okay, the cost here, including your potential saving in initial cost, then you including your operational cost, your maintenance cost, your staff cost. That means that your staff for your manpower. Then your ease of implementation or any associated costs such as abortive design, your demolition cost, your redesign cost. Okay, and then you have your knock-on cost impact. Okay, knock-on cost impact. Okay, what is mean by knock-on cost impact? Okay, knock-on cost. Okay, let's say for example knock-on cost impact. For instance, okay, let's say you talk about a demolition work. Okay, I use the pen. Okay, you talk about the knock-on cost impact. Okay, let's say you have the. Okay, let's say I just illustrate better. Okay, let's say you have your. Let's say you have the wall for instance. Okay, you have the wall. Then here you have your door. Okay, let's say for instance let's say you talk about your proposal is to change your door. Okay, so what happens is that you need to what call demolish the wall correct? You need to knock on the wall so you need to knock on the wall. So and now what happened? You will knock on the wall because you want to take out your original design of door. Okay, so after you take out your original design of door, you have knock out your knock your wall. The next thing you need to do, actually you need to touch up your wall correct? After even though after you place your new door, you need to touch up correct? You need to touch up. So this kind of touch up of work, you come with cost okay? So this kind of cost, you can call it as a knock-on cost impact. That means that it's the subsequent incurring cost. That means that here you are not only talking about the demolition cost only, but also the subsequent incurring cost, such that you need to touch up. Okay, touch up, you need the material, you need the manpower, correct? So these are the subsequent incurring costs. So these are called as a knock-on cost. Okay, so you need to consider as well this kind of knock-on costs. Okay, then if let's say you talk about function here, you talk about your aesthetic. That means that you evaluate whether they are look beautiful or not. Okay, and then you talk about whether it meets the required function or not. Then whether it help to give the improvement to the existing design or not. Whether whether there's a possibility allow for the expansion of the facility. That means the next time you want to continue to expand your facility, is it help it give the flexibility. Then of course you can talk about your safety during your occupancy, your safety issue, of course about whether how good the security is lah. Okay, so all of these you can classify under the function. Okay, then you can concern about the time as well. So time, you can look into the impact of your design time. Okay, in terms of your construction schedule, construction duration, in terms of your durability, in terms of your reliability, okay, in terms of your whole life cycle, what called your lifespan. Talk about your lifespan. Okay, and then lastly, of course, you can talk about your generally consideration, like whether it is constructability or not, whether your safety during your construction. Okay, jurisdictional consideration. So whether your method, okay, comply with the building regulation or not. Okay, so all of this actually you should consider. Okay, so all of these actually you can consider under these four. Of course, not only the technical criteria, okay, but at the same time, you also can concern about the political factors lah. Okay, because in certain extent, you might know that, oh, maybe these ideas, okay, I might involve I might involve some political agenda and so on. So these are the things actually you should consider. Okay, so this you can park as your evaluation criteria. Okay, so far. Okay, next, after you have set your criteria, right? After you have set your criteria, of course, just not mention that, because right now, because each of you have the each of the team member, they have their own ideas, ma. Okay, of course, you right now the VMTC can read out each of the idea individually. So that means that you have so many ideas. So right now, so many criteria. Right now, the VMTC can ask all the team member to give their preferred criteria or preferred idea first. Okay. After that, oh sorry, this one is idea, not the criteria. Sorry. Okay, I explain again. Just now is evaluation criteria. Okay, this one is idea. Idea is your proposal. This is pertain to your proposal, not pertain to your criteria. Your criteria done already. Okay, so right now you talk about your idea, of the proposal. Okay, so right now, because you have generated your idea during the VMTC, during the creative phase, ma. So you will read out the idea individually that is generated during the creative phase. Okay, I think I better to include here or highlight here. Okay, so generated during creative phase. Okay, so right now the next thing you will invite, okay, you invite the original of the idea, the originator. That means that who proposed that idea, ask the member to briefly explain. Okay, quickly to explain the idea to the remaining member lah, to others lah. Okay, so of course during this presentation of idea, so the originator should explain the advantage and disadvantage of the idea lah, of his idea lah. So at least people know that, okay, why actually they want to have this idea. Because right now we want to evaluate the ideas ma. We want to evaluate how good is it ma. So that's why we before we evaluate, we invite the originator to present it first. Okay, so the originator can discuss, can highlight the what is the advantages, what is the disadvantages. All right. Okay, so you have set your criteria first. That means that you tell people what are the criteria to evaluate to your idea. Then subsequently we invite people to present their idea. Okay. Okay. Then next. Okay. Since right now you have set your criteria, you have asked people to present. Then the next thing, you can apply the evaluation technique. Okay. So that means that right now you can start to learn what are the techniques available to help you to filter your data, to filter your idea, Okay, so an evaluation technique is then applied to eliminate impractical idea. You see highlight here, eliminate impractical idea and determine the best idea. So actually it serves two purposes. One, to eliminate idea. Second, to determine the best idea for development. Okay, so this idea, this technique, you have several method. You have several technique method. So therefore, by the end of the evaluation process, the team might have either original creative idea down to 3/4 or more, leaving only the best for future development. Okay, so meaning to say that lah, here is just like, okay, you only remain the best one. Just like let's say you talk about, let's say you catch a fish. Okay, you catch a fish. So right now you catch a lot of fish. So right now you are filter. Okay, those small fish you leave it aside. So you only want the big fish. So similar here, you will filter at least 3/4. You filter it out. Okay, so your remaining one, this one you can reserve for the best idea. You can reserve for the further development. Okay, here you might notice that why I suddenly put a CPU here. Seems like non-related. Okay, why I put CPU here? Because this part, apply evaluation technique, I would say is the core part. It's the core part of this evaluation phase. Okay, I highlight this evaluation technique is a core part of this evaluation phase because you are going to adopt it in your assignment. Okay, one of the method you need to adopt it in your assignment. Okay, so that's why this part you need to learn it properly. Okay, so we move on. So there are a number of evaluation technique available. Of course, each of them, they have strengths and weaknesses in certain extent. So of course you don't have a one fit all technique. You don't have one fit all technique most of the time. So therefore the VMTC, the need to know or need to recognize the strength and the weakness lah. So that means that the VMTC need to be familiar so that he or she can choose the best technique, okay, to suit the scenario lah. Okay, to suit the scenario, she need to know in what kind of scenario, what are the best evaluation technique to be adopted, so that end out you can come out what called a better idea. Okay, so remember, it's not saying that okay every single evaluation phase, so I will use that particular evaluation technique only. No, it still depends on your situation. It still depends on your how urgent is it. It still depends on the availability of your the knowledge of the VMTC as well as the knowledge of the technical member of the team member. Okay, so actually this will affect your whether which technical evaluation technique you're going to use. Okay, so most of the time I can classify this common technique into these three lah. Actually, it's four. Later you will know. Supposingly, we still have one called others. Okay, actually I've added. Okay, this morning I've added. You just have others, but for others, we later I will just briefly explain what is that about. Okay, but most important, you need to know these three, especially the last one. Okay, especially the last one. Okay, but anyhow, we will go through all of this. All right. Okay, so we move to the first one. Selection of ideas by VMTC. Oh, this one very simple. Okay, so meaning to say that right now the VMTC select. Okay, here there's I think there's a grammatical mistake. Select. VMTC should have S. Okay, so the VMTC selects the idea for development, which might be defined as autocratic and benevolent. Okay, what is mean by autocratic? What is mean by benevolent? Autocratic means that he or she is the one to determine. Okay, so that means that he no need to ask. He no need to ask any of the team member which method you're going to use. No need to ask. He or she directly select for you. Okay, he directly tell you. Okay, which of the idea actually is the best. So that means that here, not even for the evaluation. So that means that out of the list of the idea lah. So let's say you have idea A, idea B, idea C, idea D, idea E, and so on. So among this idea you have generated during the creative phase, right now VMTC tell you that okay, so among this we choose this, we choose D, we choose method D. So that means that all the rest of the member no need to undergo the evaluation phase. Okay, so it has been chosen or selected by the VMTC. So that means that the role, the responsibility is fallen to this VMTC. So that's why here you can say actually it's a autocratic. Why? Actually, that means that here the development phase, the team member didn't undergo development phase. Didn't undergo evaluation phase. Sorry, my mistake here. They didn't undergo evaluation phase. Okay, because VMTC directly select. Of course, cannot be that autocratic. He need to be flexible a bit. So he need to be benevolent a bit. So at least lah, okay, he select the idea for the development, but actually he will ask. At least they will seek or inform them whether they agree with the selection or not. Okay, so in other words, in certain extent, you can say that they are benevolent. Benevolent means that I try to seek your opinion, but in certain extent, actually I'm quite autocratic. So meaning to say I select for you, I just ask you whether you like it or not. Okay, whether you agree it or not. You don't agree, I select another one. That's all. Okay, so meaning that here you can say that actually it's more like more straightforward. So I just select, then I just only ask you whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not. That's all. Okay, so why actually we can just select by the VMTC? This method probably you will be only apply lah when you have the time constraint. Okay, and when the team member are insufficient experience. So meaning to say that let's say you encounter you have a limited time, as well as your team member actually they have a lack of the what I call the lack of experience in terms of evaluation. Okay, so let's say they are the lack of the experience in terms of evaluation. So actually you can adopt this selection by the selection of idea by the VMTC. So the VMTC will select the idea and proceed. Okay, so this is one of the method, of course with the term and condition. Okay. Okay, next, simple democratic selection. Here you have the word democratic. So meaning to say that it seems like it's a more democracy way. Okay, democracy way. So here under this simple democratic selection, we have two. One is consensus rating technique. The other is voting. Okay, you have two. You have two. Okay, we try to see the first one. Okay, so under this consensus rating technique, you have another 4 here. So meaning to say that under here, you have another 4. Okay, clear? Okay, so the team member are encouraged to discuss the idea and agree on the overall rating or score for idea one by one. So meaning to say that pretty simple. The basic principle is that, okay, so the team member actually, each of the idea, they will be discussed. The team member will discuss each of the idea one by one, and then they will voice out whether they agree or not. Okay. Of course, you will ask how actually the team member to voice out whether they agree or not agree. Of course, in this case, you can involve some of the quantitative measure, because let's say you talk about only agree or not agree, you only have 2 options, correct? Because sometimes is that you will face a dilemma, or you will face the situation in such that I want to agree, but in certain extent I not 100% agree. You get me? So that means that in certain extent it's just like to what extent you agree on the idea. So that means that you can use the you try to quantify lah, put it simple. When you talk about you try to quantify, that means that right now you can involve some of the numerical number. Okay, so since you have the numerical number, so that's why you will come across this numerical 1 to 10, numerical 1 to 4 dual rating system. Okay, these 3 at least you involve quantifiable. Okay, so this is more like a quantifiable. So this is more like you are using the ordinal scale. Okay, just like your FYP, you are using the ordinal scale. Whereas the last one is using the accept and reject system. This one is only you have the 2 options. Okay, you only have the 2 options. Okay, so yeah, here only have 2 options. Okay, the 1 to 3, this one is more like in the ordinal scale. Okay, so we will see each of them one by one. Okay, here, in order to let you all to have a clear idea, you might notice that if let's say I refer to this numerical 1 to 10, actually it's highlighted in red color. If let's say we discuss about this numerical 1 to 4, then actually it's highlighted in purple and so on. So that when you read, actually you know that this numerical 1 to 10 actually that slide actually is discussing on the numerical 1 to 10. Okay, because here we have 4 I mentioned. So that's why here I try to use the color to help you to distinguish. Okay, so the first one, you talk about numerical 1 to 10. Put it simple, it's just like the Likert scale. Okay, 10 Likert scale. Okay, so you have the scale 1 to 10. So you review based on the rating. Okay, so generally those with rating 9 to 9, you will be developed into proposal. Okay, but of course one of the pitfall for this method is that you might waste some time. You might waste some time. Why? Because each of the proposal, because as mentioned, let's say we talk about you have 100. Okay, so you need to go through this 100. Let's say you are using this numerical 1 to 10, apply to this 100 ideas lah. Okay, what happened? You need to do is that, okay, each of the idea, the team member, they need to discuss. Okay, idea 1, what the idea, what is the scoring? Okay, you need to discuss one by one. What is the scoring, and then why? What's the scoring? Why? What's the scoring? Why? So you need to go through all. Okay, so you only can reserve. You only can remain the good idea. You only can remain the 9 to 10 one. Okay, so first one, you are using the numerical 1 to 10. Okay, then second, you can use numerical 1 to 4. So put it simple as well. This one, you are using the 4 Likert scale lah. Put it simple. Okay, so the system use the rate each of the data with a score 1 to 4. Of course, what does this 1 to 4 mean? Of course, you need to indicate it clearly first. Because why I say so? Because some of the team member, they might interpret 1 as the best, 4 is the worst. Some they might notice that 4 is the best, 1 is the worst. So that's why when you ask them to put a list down, you need to what I call put your remark clearly. Let's say you see in this case, 1 is the idea to be developed. 2, idea is to be developed, but if there's a sufficient time. 3, has some merit but is rejected. 4, idea has limit, has a little merit, and should not be considered. So that's why your what the number means, what the numerical number means, you need to write it very clear. Okay, so in this case, you might notice that 1 will be the best law. Then 2 is some sort like it's a good idea, but provided you need more time. 3 is that it is a moderate idea, but actually it's a moderate idea. 4 actually is a bad idea. Put it simple. If let's say you really want to classify in another words lah, this you can say is a best. Okay, here you can say it's a good idea. Here you can say it's a moderate idea. Then of course the last one you can say is a bad idea. Okay, of course the 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you need to indicate clearly what does this mean, because sometimes people might think that 4 is the best, because 4 is bigger than 1, So in certain extent, I would say that 4 is the best. It won't be wrong. Okay, so that's why here you indicate clearly. Okay. Okay, here. In related to this numerical 1 to 4 lah. IVMM actually that classify it into category 1 to 4. Okay, they categorize it into 1 to 4 according to their according to the IVM National Value Management Guide. Okay, this actually I just get it from the IVM National Value Management Guide. So actually they according to them, the evaluation method they're going to use is that, okay, so probably they just list down like this only. Okay, so meaning to say that category 1 refer to can be done right away. Category 2, good idea but need further investigation or fund. Okay, third is a good idea for the future. That means that it's like for info. 4, discard but keep on record. Okay, so the idea, 2 of the idea here actually is quite similar. It's quite similar. Just see whether actually which one actually you resort to only. Okay? Can I? Okay, so I think right now we have about 1 hour. So I think I will give about maybe 5 minute, 5 to 6 minute break. Then after that we will continue. After that we will continue lah. Okay, so we take five. We take five. Okay, let's continue. Okay, why cannot? Okay, we move on. Okay, so we have seen numerical 1 to 10 and numerical 1 to 4. So actually, they are the same lah. They are the same. Just that for numerical 1 to 4, need to be careful of the number means. Okay, because here is at rating 1 to 10, 9 to 9. This one is the best ma. Here is the best. Here is the worst ma. But compared to numerical 1 to 4, seems like 1 is best. This one is worse. Okay, so two different, two different. Okay. Okay, then the other one we call it as a dual rating. Okay, what is mean by dual rating? Dual means that you have two ma. So that means that here you comprise an initial rating by technical and functional criteria, then followed by the secondary rating in terms of level of cost impact. So dual rating means that here you see the technical and functional first, then subsequently you look into the cost impact. Okay, so of course, similarly, for this dual rating system, you can also use the Likert scale, the 4 Likert scale. Okay, so similarly, 1 shows the best. Okay, 4 you shows is the is the worst. So similarly, 1 actually is a higher cost of saving. 4 is the additional cost incur. So similarly, okay, so how it works? So that means that initially you can draw it. Okay, you have this initial rating. You can draw a table, something like this. Okay, similar, you then secondly in terms of the cost. Okay, and then you have, therefore, your idea that scoring one stroke 1 or 1 stroke 2 or 2 stroke 1 and so on will be developed. Because right now you know that, okay, let's say for idea A. Okay, so for idea A, you try to note for idea A actually what is the rating, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then similarly, when we talk about the cost for idea A, whether you rank in 1, 2, 3, 4. So end out, that's why you will come out this. Okay, you will come out this combination. Okay, so it will therefore you only know that, okay, which one actually will be the best so usually it's 1, 1 or 1, 2 usually will be 1, 1 Okay, because you idea accepted and then with high potential cost of saving. Okay, so this is using the dual rating system. Can? Okay. And continue. Of course, the other one we call it as a accept or reject system lah. Okay, accept or reject system. This one is the simplest rating standard. Why? Because you only have 2 options. Okay, you either accept, you either reject. Okay, but here see, it seems like it's a simpler approach than others. In fact, be time consuming if there are no compromise or middle position. In fact, be time consuming if there are no compromise. Oh, so that means here, of course, if let's say you compare to others technique, you can say that this rating system actually you consume less time because you only yes and no but the bad side is that the demerit is that you don't have any position. So that means that if let's say it seems like you want to reject but you are not 100% to accept, then actually you need to determine yourself whether you want to accept or you want to reject. Because you can be in such a way is that 50% accept, you have the accept attention, and then you also have the 50% of rejection. So whether this 50%, that means that now you cannot have 50% of eject, 50% of reject. You need to have at least 51%. So then you can determine whether you want to accept or reject. Okay? Can Okay, we move on. Of course, similarly here, you ask, because right now you are talking about a group of people, correct? So of course, what happened is that you need to stick to the majority. Let's say idea A, let's say out of your team member, let's say you have 12. Okay. Of course, if possible, we try not to have the even number if possible Okay, because if let's say you have an even number, later 6 accept, 6 reject, then actually it's difficult to. You need to go another round already. You need to go one more round of voting again. So usually we that means that usually we will follow the majority . All right. Okay. So just now what we have seen just now, we call this as the consensus rating technique. Okay, all of these consensus rating technique is that the advantages is that it enable investigate the discussion of the idea. So that means that it allow you to investigate, it allow you to have the discussion, you allow you to investigate why actually you need to propose that mark, why you propose, why you give that rating. It allow you to discuss. Okay, so therefore it will be beneficial. It will be beneficial in terms of the technical consideration, because each of the idea you will be discussing why actually it deserves such a mark, such a rating. So therefore, in terms of the technical consideration, actually it will be beneficial to it. But however, since you are talking about, you need to discuss one by one. You need to discuss the reason behind. Okay, you need to discuss why actually it deserves that score. So in such case, actually you are wasting a lot of time. Okay, you are wasting a lot of time. Okay. Yeah. So anyhow, you need to be monitor The VMCCB need to be monitor how to get a balance point Okay, how to not to spend too much time. Okay, on just on the discussion purpose only Okay, we move on. Then the other one we call it as a voting. Okay, voting. Of course, voting of idea, just like you try to vote. Of course, the voting here, you can involve whether you want to involve discussion or not to involve the discussion. Okay, so but generally, the flow will be like this. Okay, first you just vote the idea that have the merit, that you believe have merit. Okay, you prefer one, you just vote. Then second, you just decide the number of vote needed so that the idea can be continued developed. Because right now, second step is that you need to tell people what is the threshold, what is the number that need to be achieved so that the idea can be continued for the development. Okay, just like you are in the competition of a position, you need to know for certain, you need to get certain number of vote you only can entitle for that for the contest just like our Pilihan Raya Okay, you need to exceed certain number of vote you only can entitle as the candidate else actually you will be forfeited your deposit, correct? So similar here. So you need to decide how many vote you need to have. Okay, so first you vote the idea. Second, you determine what is the number that need to pass. Okay, then of course lastly you talk about, you can during the voting you can discuss. Okay, so just like I mentioned, you can have with and without. If let's say it's without, you only involve step 1 and step 2 Let's say you with discussion you include 1, 2, 3. Okay, simple only here, of course, here lah, for this voting, you can further mention that initially an equal number of votes is awarded to each member. So that means that, let's say right now, you have 100 idea, correct? You have 100 idea initially. Of course, when you talk about voting, of course, you cannot give 100 votes to each of the member, cannot. Maybe you need to give a limited, let's say you only give each of the member 10 votes, let's say. Okay, so end up because you only 10 votes, and out of 100 idea, you only remain 10%. You only remain the 10 ideas remains. Okay, so the equal number of votes will be awarded to each the team member, and then the number is generally limited to half or less of the number generated. Here actually you see my one actually is very conservative already. Here you give only half. Usually I give 10 only. Out of 100 I give only 10, the best 10. Okay, and then it is important that each of the member is allowed to only cast one vote. So that means that each of the idea, let's say this 10 idea, you only can cast on 10 idea. You cannot say that, okay, so I have 10 vote, I cast on 9 idea, because one of the idea I vote two round. You cannot be like that. Okay, you only can vote one time for each of the idea. And then it will be best lah if, let's say, they can vote independently from each other. Okay, because if, let's say they vote independently from each other, so that means that they will not be influenced by others law. Then after subsequent that, after the voting process end, okay, then of course the VMTC can start counting. Then after that, similarly, the team or the VMTC can decide how many votes they will only proceed with the development of the idea law. Just like the previous slide as well, you need to determine what are the minimum vote you need to achieve in order for the idea to continue developed. Okay, so this is about the voting. Okay, here so far okay. Okay, okay, right now we will look into the other one. We call it as complex democratic. This one important. This one important. Because this one most likely you need to adopt in your assignment. So class, I highlight again. For this complex democratic, learn it properly. Learn it properly. Okay? The previous one, let's say you still blah, never mind. The previous one, the previous evaluation technique, I can say it's for your info. But this complex democratic, you need to be clear. Okay, so for this section, I try to be slower. Complex democratic, actually not too difficult, very easy only, actually very easy. Okay, so this technique combines criteria scoring matrix and alternative analysis matrix. Okay, what does this mean? So that means that in this method, I have this criteria scoring. Criteria scoring means that I have the criteria to be used to evaluate. Still remember just now at the beginning here? At the beginning, we say that we want to evaluate criteria. We want to have the evaluated criteria. You need to identify first. So in this complex democratic, you will have the criteria. Okay, and then at the same time, you will have the alternative analysis matrix, meaning to say that here you have a few idea, few proposal together. Few idea or few proposal together. So that means that you are comparing the original design against with few alternative together in relation to the criteria used. Get the idea? One more time, Okay, so that means that right now for this method, right now you are to compare your original idea, your original proposal or idea, I call idea, and your alternative idea. ideas. Okay, I use S. Compare these two against with, you measure it, evaluate with the criteria. Clear? So you will have your original idea and your alternative ideas against with the criteria. So you have combining two things. Okay. Okay. First, how you going to do? First, you need to weight your evaluation criteria based according to their relative importance and their score alternative on the basic of the weight criteria to determine those that are optimum. Okay. What does this mean? So first, that means that first you need to know what are the criteria you need to use. Because just now you mentioned we have the time, we have the cost, with the function, we have the general, correct? So you need to know, okay, no matter which criteria you're going to use, does not matter. You need to know which criteria actually you are more emphasizing. You are more looking at. You need to know which one come first. Okay, so those actually you are more emphasizing, they will be listed earlier. They will be listed first. Just like your FYP, those important findings you will list first. So similar here, those important criteria you will list first. Okay, then subsequently, this all of these criteria you will have the score. You will have the score. Okay, you will have the score related to it. Okay, later you will see how it works. So basically right now you just bear in mind, you have the criteria. After that, you need to know which criteria come first. That means that those important criteria will be listed first. Okay. Then subsequently, each of these criteria, they will have the respective score. Okay. Okay. So how actually the process involves? Okay. First, you need to select the criteria and list them on the left-hand side of the scoring matrix. Scoring matrix is some sort like this. Okay. So theoretical, no limit on the number of criteria, but it's very rare to allocate more than 20 in a VM study due to time constraint. So generally, number of criteria used will be ranged from 5 to 10. It is important that each criteria is wholly independent of each other because any overlap will screw or bias the result. Okay, here first, we say that you need to identify or you want to select the criteria and list them, right? So where actually you list them? You list them on the left-hand side of the criteria scoring matrix. So that means it's here. You will put it under here. Okay. So the second remark is that usually your criteria here, you listed here, it's unlikely you will allocate 20 and above or more than 10. Very, very rare. Because due to the time constraint. Okay, usually you won't allocate more than 20 or even I would say 10 due to your time constraint as well as your arithmetic error. Okay, because later you need to calculate one. Okay, due to the time constraint and the arithmetic error. So generally you allocate 5 to 10 criteria. Okay, 5 to 10 criteria, and then these 5 to 10 criteria usually they are what call their criteria, actually they are independent to each other. So that means that it won't overlap lah. It won't overlap. Each shall independent to each other. Why? Because you are going to calculate the score. You are going to calculate the score. How to calculate the score is the subsequent step. So right now, the step one, you just list your criteria. And then you need to know which criteria is more important. Then you list it first. So in this case, okay, you can say that initial cost, actually I'm more emphasizing on initial cost. Okay, so initial cost is more important, so that's why I list the initial cost first. So I just list. So second, I can list the respective criteria. Let's say maintenance cost, aesthetic, insulation, okay, time construction, durability, and so on, so and so forth. Okay, So here highlight 5 to 10 independent to each other. This is step 1. This should be no problem at all. Because you only list, you only need to know which one come first, which criteria you need to present first, then you give the scoring. Give the scoring later. Which of the criteria is more important, you just list it out first. That's all. Of course, the criteria here, you will say, how we going to determine? Of course, you need to link back lah. You need to determine back, you need to see back. Okay, what is your client needs? What is the client wants? Okay, you need to link back. What the client actually needs? Does this of the criteria here meet the primary function, meet the secondary function? Okay, of course, those criteria is not simply say that, okay, here I give initial cost, then later you start with initial cost. Not necessary. It depends on your project needs, project requirement, your client needs, your problem, your issue face. Okay, so the criteria should be, your criteria set should be suit back to your project needs. This one important. Okay, then subsequent. Right now, you assign a relative weight of the importance to each of the criteria. Okay, this can be achieved subjectively by allocating weightage based on the team member intuition. This process commences with the comparison and rating of each criteria against all of the others. Wow, what does this mean? Seems like very, very complicated, right? Okay, no, very simple, no, actually. Right now, second step is that you have so many, let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 criteria here, correct? So right now, the second step is that you are going to compare the criteria A to criteria B, criteria A to criteria C, criteria A to criteria D, criteria A to criteria E, criteria A to criteria F, then B to C, B to D, B to E, and so on. Clear? So that's why here actually you are comparing and then you will assign a relative weight. So that means that right now you compare, let's say you compare criteria A and criteria B. You need to know which one actually wins. Okay, which one actually wins. Okay, it wins in terms of how many marks. Okay, you need to know in terms of how many marks. So that's why here actually how many marks here actually is based on your team, based on your team experience, based on your team feeling, not say feeling lah, based on your team your team consensus lah, based on your team agreement. Okay, so this process commences with the comparison and rating of each criteria against of others. Okay, how it works we see the example. Okay, here actually we complete this slide first. You see how you're going to compare, how you're going to assign the relative weight of importance to each other. Okay, here meaning to say that just now I mentioned you are compare, let's say criteria A to criteria B, later you criteria A to criteria C and so on, right? So when you compare these two criteria, you can use the number to determine. Okay, so meaning to say here 4 is a major preference over the criteria, 3 is a middle preference, 2 is a minor, 1 is no preference. Okay, you just bear in mind this first. 4 means that actually you prefer that, 3 you medium prefer, 2 minor prefer, 1 you no prefer at all. Okay, later how it works, later you see the example, you will understand. So the more important criteria together with its scores from the above key is then written into box where the two criteria intersect on the matrix. Okay, this one you need to see, then actually you can understand later. So actually you are repeat the process until it end. Okay, how it works we see. Okay, so initial we have set your criteria, correct? Okay, so those important one I list first. Right now I will start to compare one by one. Okay, so the marks you will be written here. You have been written here. Okay, you have been written here. Okay, how actually you going to compare? Of course, just as I mentioned, we need to use this. How important is it? Okay, of course you need to compare. Okay, let's say how it works. Let's say right now you compare A to B. Initial cost to maintenance cost, correct? So do you see the box here? Do you see the box here? Da 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 da. Sorry. This one I need to discharge first. One more time because I draw something wrong. Okay, here. One more time. You initial cost versus maintenance cost. Do you see the box here? This box. Stop. Stop. You see, you are comparing A and B, correct? So you compare A and B. So you need to know which one win. Let's say you notice that A actually you more emphasize. So you will write A here. Of course, the number here behind, you determine whether how great you prefer it. You are medium prefer it or major prefer it. So let's say in this case, you prefer it in 3. Medium prefer. That means that initial cost and maintenance cost, initial cost win. So in terms of I medium prefer it 3. Get the idea? Okay. And then subsequently, you can go to the next. Initial cost versus aesthetic. Okay, this one I discharge. Okay, so pointer. Okay. So right now, you will compare A to C. Just now we compare A to B. Right now, we compare A to C. You see the box, Da 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 da. Da 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 da. And then here, stop. Da 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 da. Stop. Da 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 da. So right now, you are comparing A versus C. So now your result, you will be written here. This one. This one. Because you are comparing A to C. So right now you are comparing initial cost versus aesthetic. So similarly, let's say you feel that, oh, I still prefer initial cost. So you put A. So to what extent you prefer it? You say number 2, minor preference. So A2, clear. So right now, actually, you keep on, compare. So end out, you will have the respective scoring. So you have compare A, then you go to B. B you will directly compare with the C, compare with the D, compare with the E, compare with the F. So you C will continue compare with the D, with the E, with the F. D will continue with the E, F, G. E will continue F and G. F will compare with G. If let's say you have. So you will continue until you have the scoring. Okay? So end out, you will be having the scoring like this. 10. Can? Okay. We move on first. Okay. After that, you need to total up. Okay. You need to total up. Okay. Because you have compared to each other, you need to total up. So the score may be totaled up by providing a relative weightage. That means that you know that for that respective criterion, not criteria, criterion, the respective criterion, what is the respective score of it? So you know each of the weighting score for each criterion. Okay, so therefore it provides the raw score indicate at the bottom. Okay, and then this raw score, and then we'll convert into the ranging from 1 to 10. Okay, and then the highest will be allocated 10, the lower will be raw score will be prorated between 1 to 10. Any criterion have 0 score will have minimum 1. Wow, I know that some of you start confusing already, complicated already. No, very simple. Okay, you see, then you will understand. Okay, so here, okay, so far can understand how you're going to how to obtain this A3, A2, A3, C3, this kind of thing or not. Okay, of course. If let's say you see why this one you don't have score 1. Okay, this one I did mention. You notice that B and D, Why B and D? This one have no score one. Let's say we zoom B and D. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Stop. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Okay, you are comparing maintenance cost versus insulation properties. Okay, what does this mean? This means that B and D, they are equal important. If they are equal important, you will have a tie. That means that B stroke D. That means that they are equally important. That's why you here you don't have any scoring. Clear? Okay. After that, just now, the next step actually is total up. So you obtain your A, A3, A2, A3, A2. So right now, you count. Here is 3. Here you have 3. Here you have 2. Here you have 3. Here you have 2. Here you have 4. Sum up. Okay. 6, 10, 14. All right. 14. So this 14 will be here. You will write your A equivalent to 14. So similar, you have others, B, C, D, and so on. You also just sum up. Okay. So once you determine already, right? You get the sum already, right? Right now you have the what I call you have the raw score, ma. We have this raw score, ma. Okay. So right now you need to know which of the raw score is the highest. Okay. In this case, definitely it's 14. Okay. So since this raw score is the highest, so of course the subsequent row here is the weight of importance. Those with the highest raw score, you will put it as 10, 10 marks, 10 marks for it, because it's called the highest. The weight of importance is the highest 10. Then how about the low one? You just use prorated. Okay, here prorated is not simply use the prorated. In other words, here you are using the ratio. Put it simple, mathematics. Ratio, I will say ratio. Okay, so you total up, your raw score, you have 10, correct? So highest, okay, a bit messy here. Okay, so you have 14 equal to 10. So how about you have 6, 6, 6, you multiply by 10 divided by 14. So you 4, 8. You have 4. So for 11, you will be having 8. If let's say those with 0, you cannot just put 0. You need to allocate at least 1. Because if let's say 0 later, you cannot compute because the end of the result will be 0. Okay, so put it simple, for the lower score, you are using the ratio. Can using the belief, Chinese called belief, you have learned it. These are just simple mathematics only. Can? Step number 3. Okay. Then seems like it's quite easy right now. Okay. Then next. Okay. Then right now, you have completed the first part. The first part just now we mentioned. We have the 2 things, we have the criteria scoring matrix, right? We also have the alternative. Right now we have completed criteria scoring matrix. Right now we will look into this alternative analysis metric. Okay, still within the same form. Same form. Okay, so step 3. Step 4. Okay, score the various design solution alternative on the alternative matrix. Okay, having assigned weight to each of the criteria, then move on the comparison of the various design solution alternative on the alternative matrix. This evaluation consists of the reviewing this one, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the score is inserted above the diagonal in the box to represent the matrix intercept within the criteria. Usually the first listed item will be the origin item. Okay, seems like you also don't know what it means. All right, never mind. We see how it works better. Okay, so we see how it works better. Actually, it will tells you the entire step here. Okay, right now, this form actually is one form. Okay, I let you all see first. Okay, complex. Actually, it's one form. Okay, it's one form. Bottom one is the alternative comparison of the alternative. Above one is your criteria, comparison of your criteria. Okay, so right now we see the alternative part. Okay, for the alternative, yeah. Okay, so step 4. Okay, so step 4. So usually, left-hand side here, you will list down your alternative. Okay, that means that your alternative proposal. So usually for the first item, will be your original item. First one usually will be your original item. Okay, then starting from 2 and so on will be your alternative item. Okay, will be your alternative proposal. Okay, so right now you are going to what call give the respective scoring each of the proposal. You are consider each of the what call the criteria above. Let's say we check the first one. Okay, let's say this one is the original item, the glazed curtain wall, correct? So for this curtain wall, you know that for criteria A, just now the above one represent is the initial cost, ma. B is the maintenance cost and so on, ma. Listed above, ma, correct? So right now for this initial cost, okay, so you might persist that for this initial cost for this glazed curtain wall, is the initial cost good or poor or fair or well or excellent? If let's say the initial curtain wall, because it's very expensive, ma, correct? Let's say you assume it's very expensive, so therefore you say that no good. Actually, for the initial cost for this curtain wall is expensive, so actually I give it 1, very poor. So maintenance cost, because subsequently you need to clean and so on. Okay, you incur high cost, so you give 1 as well. Okay, you give 1 as well. Then, but in terms of aesthetic, wow, glass very nice. Whoa, so therefore I give a good. I give 4. Okay, it's a very good. Then insulation in terms of, let's say to insulate sun, to insulate light, actually is poor because it's glass. It can be pass through. So I give only 2. Okay. Then in terms of time from construction, okay, seems like okay, moderate. Okay, so you can give 3. Then you talk about durability. Wow, glass very easy to break off. Okay, so you give 2. So that means that here you will give the scoring with the respective criteria identified above. So that's why you put that for this circle one is determined by the team member. Okay, by the team member. So end out what you need to do is that here is a diagonal line, correct? You have the diagonal line. So this score will be 10 multiplied by 1. 10 multiplied by 1, you get 10. 4 multiplied by 1, you get 4. 8 multiplied by 4, you get 32. 4 multiplied 2, you get 8, and so on. So you will repeat for the rest. Let's say for precast concrete, we see. For precast concrete, we talk about initial cost. Maybe concrete not that expensive lah, not that expensive. So actually I can give 3 good. Okay, I put 3. So maintenance cost okay lah, because we really seldom need to maintain so we give 3. So similar to aesthetic, insulation, time for construction and durability, you get the respective score. So this one you have done for the precast concrete. So you repeat for the metal panel and the brick. Okay, so you give the respective scoring in relation to the earlier identified criteria. That means that here you are comparing your proposal versus your criteria user. Clear? You have the diagonal line, that one because you want to obtain the total. Okay, so you get 3. So times by 3, you get 30. 4 times 3, you get 12. So similar concept apply to all. Clear? So the entire here explain what actually means here. Understand? Here, if let's say I just you seeing this, you won't understand. Okay, you see the example here, then actually you can have a better idea. Okay, so the entire here refer to step 4. So far, okay, Okay, then always remember for this, usually for the first item here, we will use back the original item because you want to compare, ma. So usually you won't just directly start with, or 1 actually is your alternative material item 1, alternative item 2, alternative 3. Then how about your original? You didn't compare at all. Okay, so usually the first will be your original item, then the subsequent will be the alternative item. Okay, so this is number 4. Okay, how about number 5? Number 5, actually, I mentioned already. You just need to weight the important time the weight. Okay, so similarly, okay, no need to see here, no need to see here. Okay, step 5. Okay, multiply. I mentioned already. 10 times 1, you get 10. 4 times 1, you get 4. Okay, 10 times 3, you get 30. 10 times 2, you get 20, and so on. Okay, so you will be refer back to the earlier one, the earlier identified weight of importance. Clear? So this is step 5. And then lastly, sum up. Okay, similarly, no need to see here lah. So many things. Okay, so sum out. Just sum out only. You just sum out the diagonal. 2 times plus 6 plus 8 plus 32 plus 4 plus 10, you get 62. Okay, so similar to the rest, Okay, so end up you got the scoring, ma. You get the score for each of the item, ma. So the highest one, you will be select for the next phase, 10. 10. So if let's say you see the entire diagram, you can have a better idea. Okay, so this is how the entire diagram works. So initial, I repeat in a quick manner. First, here you determine your criteria scoring matrix. Subsequently, you compare the criteria. How good is it among the criteria? Okay, then you denote, okay, by using this, how important is it? After that, you get the raw score. Highest will become the number 10. Will become the number 10 in the weight of importance. Okay, the rest use the ratio. Okay, so you settle here. After here, bottom here, the first one will be you will list as the original item. 2 and the above, and the subsequent is your alternative. Then what you need to do, you need to know, okay, let's say for your original item, okay, how good is it with the initial cost? You will give the rating. Give the rating. Then you multiply accordingly. And now you just sum. So end up the highest will be your chosen for the development phase. Can So far, any problem? For complex democratic. Okay, you got problem? Can ask during the practical. Okay, or tutorial. Okay, we move on first. Okay, I cannot. Okay. So next, we have done this. Okay, so here you will notice that we have a few common techniques. Okay, first is a selection of idea by selection of idea by VMTC. So that means that the VMTC will direct choose which of the idea to proceed with the development. Okay, here you can it's related to the autocratic because it's only chosen by the VMTC. Benevolent means that I still ask whether the participant they happy or not, they agree or not. Okay, of course the advantage is that when you have a very strict time, as well as where your team member have a less sufficient experience. Okay, then you also come across, we also have learned the simple democratic, whereby you have the different concession rating technique. You have the numerical 1 to 10, 1 to 4 dual rating. These three, the what called the first three of this concession rating technique. This one is the you can say that actually you have quantified them. Okay, quantify them into the figure. The last one, you only have what I call accept or reject. Okay, you have quantified them. So these are the advantages. You can investigate what is the reason behind. Okay, why actually it deserves that score. You can discuss. Of course, in terms of the technical wise, actually because you have considered it. Okay, because you consider why actually it deserves that rate, that scoring. Then of course you have the voting lah. Then lastly is your democratic complex democratic, sorry. Okay, here you combine two things, your criteria scoring and the alternative metrics. You have two things here. Okay, so each of the method you have the advantages have listed here. Okay, of course you can say that basically you can say that actually it will be getting more and more sophisticated when it across to the right hand side. Okay, this one is the simplest, then middle one still moderate, this one is a more complex. Can? Okay, then of course just now I mentioned not only these three actually this is the rest of the evaluation technique but see whether we got time to see it. Let me check. 10:30, 10:30, 10:30. I afraid we might don't have. Okay, never mind. So for this one, we might don't have time. Never mind. So basically, you just know that actually we still have others method like silent means no technique, complexity technique, acceptability technique. Okay, silent means no, that is just alike. If let's say there's no one answer, that no response, the proposal will be what called put aside. Okay, complexity technique is alike the numerical 1 to 4 rating method is alike, almost alike. Okay, whether the and the acceptability technique is alike like the they consider into whether they are technical practical, whether they are technical practical or not, whether they are functional mean or not, and so on. Okay, so that one got time we only look into it. Okay, let's move on first. Okay, after that, okay, after you have this step 4, after you have decided your analysis method, okay, you have conducted your analysis method, you have done your analysis method. So the next step you need to do is conduct the reality check. Okay, because you want to check, you not want to vet again whether your review idea, your evaluated idea, whether they are practical or not. Because sometimes is that your idea might not be practical or might not be applicable in the project. So that's why sometimes you need to check one more time, see whether anything they miss out or anything they overlook. Because sometimes they might just overlook certain issue, and now your proposal might not be work. Okay, so therefore it is recommended you to have this reality check. Okay, because once you have this reality check, actually it can help you to avoid the valuable time. The valuable time means that actually you no need to worry that the proposal, the idea that you have proposed will not have any chance for the implementations. So that's why actually this one actually you are check against whether they are applicable in your project or not. In other words, okay. So we quickly go through. Okay, of course this one is the additional slide I add in this morning as well. Okay, so for this group and combine, so meaning to say after you have done your reality check, you also can try to group. Those ideas, they are complement to each other, because some of the idea you can they can be combined, they can be done together, or whether the idea they are mutually exclusive to each other. You need to know. Okay, because for the development stage, okay, actually you need to know whether this idea they are complement to each other or they are mutually to each other. Okay, you need to identify as well. Okay, that means that you can group them together first, so that actually later for the person in charge, when they want to manage this idea, it will be more easier for them. That's the purpose. Okay, can Okay, so after you have done your reality check, after you have group them together, the last thing is that actually you are allocate the idea for development. That means that right now, put it simple lah, you are assigning to someone for the continuous development already. Okay, so of course here, once the final weeding process has been undertaken, the remaining ideas are to allocate to the individual team for development. So meaning to say that right now, you will allocate the idea for the VM, the either of the team member. That means that you will ask the team member, the VM team member for the development, okay, to further develop it. Okay, of course, it can depend on the disciplinary effect lah. If let's say that the proposal, the idea involve a multiple discipline, of course, they that few people they can form in a group law. They can form in a group law. Okay, because they need to continue to develop on the idea. Meaning to say here, development here still refer in the VM process. It's not saying that the process ended already. No, still in the VM process. Just that you allocate to certain members, not like the 12 member anymore. But right now you are split it. Let's say you talk about you want to work out on the costing perspective. Okay, you want to develop it. So maybe you will involve QS as the example. Okay, so the team member actually meaning to say that meaning to say actually you are to know who will be responsible to develop the idea lah. Okay, put it simple. You need to know who is the ideal champion or person in charge. We call it, or you call it ideal champion. Okay, so ideal champion means that it's someone who is willing or who is responsible to the evaluation, including its technical merit and economic perspective. So meaning to say that this one, actually, you need to find a PIC to know that who will be in charge for the subsequent stage. That means that the development phase, because the development phase can continue as a workshop activity with individual or actually within the small group. Okay, clear? Okay, so generally to allocate this idea for development, the value study leader, okay, or the VMTC, probably they need to record. They need to record by whom. That means that who will be continue to develop the idea. Okay, this one evaluating, you can change it to developing the idea. You can change it to developing the idea. Okay, as well as when. You need to know your realistic time frame, no? Okay, because you need to know how long you need to complete your development phase. Okay, so the VSL probably they will just record down who and when. Okay, so put it simple here. These are the summary. So you have the first level of sorting. You set your criteria, you present the idea, you apply the technique, you apply the, let's say, the complex democratic. Okay, you have first level of sorting already. Then after that, you can the refine sorting. You will done your reality check as well as you grouping your idea together. And then lastly, you will select the team member. You will select one team member or a small group of team member for the development purpose. Clear? Okay, so what you have learned is evaluation. Okay, this is what actually you get lah. What is your input and what is your expected outcome relation to the tools and techniques. Okay, so no test understanding, there will be no quiz. There will be no quiz. Okay, so I think we take for 5 to 10. Then after that, I will continue with development phase a bit. Okay, else we cannot finish the syllabus. Okay, so we take about 5 to 10 minutes to break. Okay, we have completed um, evaluation phase. We will move into development phase. Development phase. You can, of course, you can get your notes from Weber as well. Of course, the notes not yet finished. Most likely, this only in 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 the way only. Okay, we try to cover as many as we can. Okay, so we move into next phase. Okay, just now we have evaluate so right now we are going to develop. Okay, so develop phase here right now. Okay, so what actually you need for what actually you will do as the summary. Okay, so the idea that have been evaluated and selected earlier are expanded into the workable solution. Just now you have what I call evaluate those ideas that can be used correct? That will be beneficial So right now you will continue to what I call expand it, continue to expand, continue to develop it. So in terms of maybe you can discuss in terms of the cost implications in terms of the advantage disadvantage okay, the reason behind why actually you want the option Okay, so actually, this is what actually you need to do during this development phase, including the calculation of your life cycle costing. Okay, so alternative design sketches and illustration are prepared whenever necessary. So that means that because you are going to develop, so sometimes you need to have some alternative design sketch you need some illustrations you need some info okay, or actually you need the still remember let's say your cost model you have prepared during the pre-study phase. So right now let's say you need to develop it, you need this kind of information. Okay, so here you see the alternative proposal is estimated preferable is life cycle cost that includes not only the initial cost but operation and maintenance during its economic lifespan. So meaning to say that right now here, if let's say first you talk about you want to develop your let's say you want to develop your solution, your idea. Firstly, you might equip with some alternative design if that's necessary, or you might include or you need to include, put simple, you compulsory to include its life cycle costing. So in other words, you will involve some calculation part in this phase. Okay, so far that's the only phase that actually you will involve the calculation. Okay, can okay, move on. Okay, although each job plan stage has specified items that must be accomplished and the specific cut-off time and date, it does not mean that the job plan is not flexible. It might be necessary after reviewing new information to revert to the earlier phase of the job plan to gain information or brainstorm a new idea. So that means that right now you know that each of the phase, okay, you know that you have the certain tasks, okay, you have certain tasks that need to be that need to be completed, okay, but it does not mean that your job plan is not flexible, because it might be due to if let's say you have receiving some new information or you have some new constraint, then actually you might need to go back to the earlier phase. Okay, you might need to switch back to the earlier phase. Let's say suddenly you have the new info, okay, then actually you need to revert back to the earlier phase. Let's say you are in the info phase, okay, then of course you still can in the info phase if let's say you are in the functional analysis phase, suddenly you have a new info, so you might need to revert back to the info phase first. Okay, then you need to study again, then you only move back again. Okay, okay, so actually this slide actually it does not tell much on the development phase This is more important Okay, this is what actually you need to do. Okay, we try to see. Okay, here introduction. The goal of this phase is to develop the idea during the precedent evaluation into the practical proposal. So meaning to say that right now you try to cut out a more detail. more detail. So therefore, your idea must be researched and translate into proposed alternative design. So supported by the backup calculation, schedule, description of cost and implication. So they mean to say that right now your idea, you need to be able to come out with your at least the sketch design plus your calculation. Your calculation here refer to your costing. Usually it will be the costing. Okay, as well as the implication to the existing project. What are the impact? What will be the impact? You need to what called mention it out in the proposal. Okay, so the work involved in this phase costs most time consuming compared to other phase. Why actually this phase actually you consume more time? Because here you are to work on your proposal. Okay, you need to know how your proposal work. Okay, why your proposal work, your cost implication, your implication to the existing project, and so on. You need to come out with the design. So that's why the time is spent on this kind of preparation work. Okay. So each of the proposal developed should be treated separately. This occurs when the team proposes a number of alternatives to one particular design aspect. Okay, if let's say you have a alternative, you have different coincident, you have different proposal lah. Okay, you have different proposal. Each of the proposal, it should be have a individual individual development. Okay, rather than you merge them together. So actually is more actually in this phase lah, actually you need to have this comprehensive development proposal. Okay, especially when you have your external team. Okay, because they are going to because you are going to, the decision you make here actually is going to impact your project. If let's say the proposal is adopted. So that's why you need to have a comprehensive development proposal. Okay. So why actually, what is the reason you need to have a comprehensive proposal? What is the reason of developing a comprehensive proposal? What are the factors? What are the reasons why actually you need this comprehensive proposal? First, you can talk about because actually it's the extension to the evaluation process. Because we have done your evaluation process, right? Right now, actually, it's a continual part to the evaluation process. Okay, so that means that your idea is not interrupted, continue. So that means that starting from the functional analysis phase, then actually you go through the creative phase, you go through the evaluation phase, and lastly you come to this development phase. Okay. Second, you want to make it clear first. Okay. By having a comprehensive proposal, actually you can avoid some miscommunication. Why? Because let's say you didn't write it in detail, you didn't write it clearly, and your proposal might be rejected by your client. Okay, because most likely the client, they will need to know how you're going to work, because you are going to propose changes. The client definitely, they want to know how you're going to make the changes. What step actually you have taken? What is your planning? They want to know. They want to see it out, so that actually you can avoid the miscommunication. So that means that if possible, everything you write clearly. Then of course, third actually is to minimize any disruption to the design program. So that means that you try to minimize the disruption to the design. So that means that if let's say right now you talk about you want to have a new design, or you want to or have the revised design, yes, no problem, no issue. The more critical part is that you try to minimize the disruption. Okay, you try to minimize so that they still can able to come out, because sometimes is that, okay, you just imagine if let's say the design team they have come out the design coincident your team member, actually your VMTC team, actually they are external team. If let's say they just directly say that, oh, for a designer, all your design cannot be used. Why? Because your design is lousy or blah 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 blah. So end out whatever the designer they have spent so much effort to come on the design, actually all are wasted. Okay, so therefore, this when you have this proposal, very detailed proposal, the designer, they can know, okay, to what extent the disturbance has been made to them. They know, so that actually they can adjust accordingly how to minimize the disturbance. Okay, and then lastly, your proposal, don't forget your proposal, because is to be reviewed by different audience. Different audience means that here is by different profession. Okay, by your client, by your different expert. Okay, all of them, they will be reviewed. If let's say it's not detailed enough, definitely they will query. Okay, that's the reason why actually you need to have a very detailed proposal. Okay, during your development phase. Okay, so similarly apply to your assignment. So this will be some of the typical content you need to include. Okay, so usually you will include this lah. Okay, usually you will include this element. Okay, we will look, if possible, we will try to cover. Okay, we will try to cover all. So of course, you covered your description of original design, description of your proposed design, alternative design. Then you discuss also the advantage of your proposal, that means your proposed design, your disadvantage of your proposal, that means your proposed design. Then generally the discussion. Then you also concern about the life cycle cost implication, and then you need to equip with the appendices or attachment, such as the technical backup. So usually you will contain this kind of your development proposal will contain this kind of info. Okay, let's see one by one. Okay, firstly, you need a description of the original design. Of course, you need to let the because in the proposal, you are trying to tell, okay, what is the original design first, to see the review of the proposal and increase the potential for its acceptability, for its acceptance. Meaning to say that right now you need to tell people what is your original design first, and then what is the issue first. What is the original design? You let people know first, because your problem has been identified. Okay, perhaps you just let people know, okay, initial is this design. Okay, you just provide as much as detail as you can now, so that when people they see your proposal, they know about it. Especially let's say you have the external team, okay, or it's the external people, external party, when they read, they know. Okay, so you have your original description of your original design. Then second, you should have your description of the proposed alternative design. So ambiguously and correctly convey the proposed change to the original design. So that means that you need to be what I call without the doubt, and you need to clearly transfer or translate your proposal to the report. Okay, you need to clearly translate it into the writing of your proposed alternative design. Okay, so first you have your description of your design. Then second is your definitely will be your alternative law. Okay, then subsequently you need to highlight the advantages of your proposed alternative. What is so good about your proposal? Why actually you need to stick to it? Of course, to discuss these advantages, you can look into the reason why actually you need to accept. Then, of course, you can discuss it in terms of the economic and non-economic aspect. Okay, so basically, economic you can relate it to the in terms of the monetary, in terms of the financial. Okay, non-economic perspective, you can relate it as long as it's not related to the monetary, then actually you can classify as a non-economic perspective. So you try to discuss, okay, what is the gain in terms of the economic and non-economic aspect. Okay, as well as why actually your proposal should be accepted. Okay, so basically this you can discuss, I mean, for the advantages of the proposal. Okay, then similarly, it does not mean that your proposed alternative is perfect all the while. Sometimes your proposal, you also have the disadvantages. You need to admit, okay? Because by admitting, at least the client know that what will be the limitation. At least later, they won't just blame you. Because you can't just say that, oh, this is the disadvantage, so therefore I hide it. No. Because once you hide it, anything happen later. Let's say, especially during especially during the construction. So the construction adopt your proposed alternative. So coincident, you have the safety concern and so on. Okay, then actually there's an accident happen. Then how? Then that means that your VNTC, your team, your whole team, you need to be responsible already. Oh. Correct. So that's why if let's say there's any limitation, any disadvantages, never mind. List down first. At least, okay, you what call you let the team member aware, you let the client aware. Okay, so you list to ensure that an appreciation of the downside by the decision maker, at least they know what is a limitation. Okay, writing up the disadvantage also force the team member to make an objective appraisal to their idea, so that in practical idea can be read out. Okay, meaning to say that because when you describe about your proposal lah, when you describe your about your proposal, probably you know that those impractical idea. Okay, so probably you won't what call you won't continue lah. You won't continue lah. Let's say although we highlight that, yeah, during the creative phase we need a wild idea, we need an impractical idea. Yes, definitely during that stage, yes, agree. But you know that if let's say that wild idea, that impractical idea, if let's say is bring forward to this development phase, then you have the problem because you do know how to do it, because it is impractical at all. So that means that here can help you to, in certain extent, can help you to uh, wipe up those impractical idea for the development. Because development is mainly is concerned how you're going to do it, how you're going to plan it. Okay, so those impractical idea in here cannot be used. So here means that you need to use a more logic and reasonable idea for the development. Clear? Okay, development, I repeat, because development here you are expanding your idea, or by conveying it, by conveying or convincing people how your idea works, your planning, how you do it. Okay, so that's why you need the description. So those description need to be logic. That's the sentence mean. Okay, then of course you can have the discussion in discussion session in the proposal. So of course the discussion, you can be looked into the non-technical narrative, especially the reason behind the proposal, so that it can be easily understood by non-technical decision maker. Okay, because you are from different background and so on, correct? So usually when during the discussion, most of the time you try to use a more general, what I call a more easy understand description. Because sometimes, let's say you talk about the issue, you talk about the design, sometimes you use some of the abbreviation, sometimes you use some of the professional terms, whereby only the professionals, that only profession, they know what does it mean. Then actually this is meaningless. Why? Because others do know what at all. So usually in this case, when you want to have the discussion session, you try to write it in a more general way. So when other people read, they know what it means, rather than you using the professional term. Okay, let's say for instance, suddenly you say that, oh, okay, by using this working method, the DLP can be reduced. Then let's say they are non QS, they are non QS background, they are not construction background. How they know what is meant by DLP? Definitely they will know. Okay, so you need to use a more common way of describing, or you can say, oh, defect liability period, meaning to say that it's some sort of like the warranty. At least when people read, they know what it means. Okay, rather than you just use a very technical term whereby others to know. Okay, then of course during the discussion session, I mean during the discussion session, that means that in the report, this one is not the discussion among the friends. This one is in the proposal. This one is not the physical discussion among people and people. No, no. This is the discussion in the proposal, inside the proposal session. Okay, this is you will be having a session called discussion. So you will discuss this, the reason behind. Then of course you will discuss about the implication. That means that you discuss what is the impact. Of course, the impact you can discuss in terms of the to the design, in terms of the construction program. Construction program means that it's your time lah. What will be the impact to your design? What will be the impact to your design and time? Okay. And then lastly is about the procedure. That means that your step, how you're going to do it. Okay, put it simple, this part of discussion is like the methodology. Put it simple, it's like the methodology, your working methodology. Put it simple. Okay, it's more like your working methodology, how you're going to work it. Okay. Just now, definitely someone will start asking, sir, why only here have the impact to design, impact to the time? How about to the cost? No worry, won't skip the cost. Because right now for the cost, you need to constantly in the of the life cycle costing. Okay, so that means here you need to calculate, you need to equip with the respective costing. You know that in construction, okay, no money, no talk. Everything you need associate with the money. Okay, you want any changes, anything, actually you have the cost. So that's why QS important, because QS is the treasurer. Okay, so similarly, let's say right now you have the proposal. Similarly, you also come with the cost. So cost often is one of the important element. So of course, cost here you are talking about, you need to calculate what will be the expected life cycle costing of your proposal. You need to compare with your original. To what extent is safe, or to what extent it incur additional cost. You need to know. Don't forget in VM, not necessary that your proposal must reduce your original cost. Not necessary. Always forget. Remember this. Not necessary. And out you can have your cost to be higher than the initial to higher than your original cost. Possible. Why? Because as mentioned, VM consider about value, not cost. Okay, VM consider on this value. Of course, consider as the function, quality, okay, worth, with optimum cost. Okay, so if let's say for your proposal, you have a higher cost, it's okay. That's why you need to able to discuss it. You need to be able to justify it. Clear? Okay. Lastly, of course, is about like the appendices, like the technical backup. We call as a technical backup. We don't call appendices lah. Appendices usually is for your meeting minutes and so on or your assignment. Okay, but usually in the workshop, okay, the proposal they will say that actually you have this technical backup. It's just like appendices. So those technical backup or appendices is just like your catalog information, like your design standard, okay, like your building regulation. So you can just back up. That means that right now you have this building regulation, you design standard, you comply to this design standard and building regulation. Then of course you have your sketches, you have your design calculation, you have your cost calculation, you have your supplier quotation, and so on. Those are what I call supplement data to your life cycle costing as well as to your proposal. Okay, because this kind of supporting data, supporting technical backup, actually you need, because it is needed. Why? You only can claim that your proposal is valid now. For instance, let's say you talk about the changes of design. So you want to change of design. So let's say you say that right now your changes of design, actually you still complying the design standard. as well as the building regulation like UBBL. Okay, so actually it's still what call, it's still, that means that your design is not substandard at all. It's up to the standard, and then you actually you do it according to the client needs. You are not over design some more. You are not over and under design. Then in terms of the costing, in terms of the on the costing, all the costing, they are very logically obtained. Okay, all the costing, you are not simply just give the cost. You derive the cost based on your calculation, based on the way, based on the model, based on the data. Okay, based on the handbook and so on, based on the quotation and so on. So that's why you need this kind of technical backup. Okay, so that whenever you have this backup, so actually it will help. It will help what call, it will give the convenience to the original team lah. Okay, if let's say the original team is not involved in the in the VM workshop, if let's say they involved, then of course they know what happened lah. In case some of the team member, they are not involved in the workshop, when they have this kind of technical data, because they absent for the VM workshop ma. Okay, so after your VM workshop done, when they see this kind of technical backup, they know what happened. Okay, they know what are the implications. Clear? Okay, but of course you have some remark here that you need to bear in mind. You need to bear in mind. Firstly lah, okay, definitely your proposal, your development proposal, okay, you need to be what called reviewed by the VMTC at least. Okay, why? Because it is to make sure your your proposal is, I mean, is comprehensive, as well as I mean, is is clear, is clarity, is clear as possible. Okay, because the EVNC should review all the proposals as they are developed and direct amendment and amplification needed before the team member are. Okay, so meaning to say that the VMTC know that, yeah, this will be your development. Okay, put it simple lah. Development phase is almost the end of the workshop. You know that this will be almost the end of the work, because the subsequent workshop will be your presentations ma. The presentation phase ma. So this development phase actually is served as the what call the last opportunity for the team member as well as the VMTC to make sure that the idea really works. Else, later after your presentation, after the team member I mean the workshop ended, so everyone gone back. I mean has gone back, have left. So what happened if let's say there's an incomplete info? Of course you can say, yeah, you can find the respective team member. But how about if let's say the issue need to be discussed again by all the team member? You can't have another VM workshop already. Okay, so that's why the VMTC, in certain extent, he need to review. At least he know the comprehensive, and then to make sure that all the what call the amendment or any ambiguity is clear before the team dismiss. Okay, so first review proposal by VMTC. Okay, second, okay, when you talk about your cost estimating, that means that your prediction of your life cycle costing. Okay, so usually in the VM now, okay, I mean in the development phase, usually you will comprises of these three. Okay, of course these three will be looking into more detail maybe next week. Okay, but generally right now, I just let you all know, you need to consist of what actually you have, your initial capital cost, your initial cost, your original cost. Okay, your original cost of your design. After that, you need to include as well the present value cost. Present value cost in terms of present value cost for the operation and maintenance cost, because some of the item you need to be maintained. So right now you need to predict what will be the present value cost for such operation and maintenance work. Similar you have those elements like the machine, like the lift, that actually you need the replacement. You also need to know the present value cost of this replacement cost. That means that in other words here, you need to know the future value but presented into their value. You get the idea? That means that you need to know the future value, but actually you are presented current. You are presented now. Because let's say you talk about operating and maintenance costs, because you know that, okay, let's say you talk about, let's say for instance, let's say I just use a very simple example. Let's say you talk about, okay, you talk about, yeah, right now our lighting, we all the while we are using fluorescent. So fluorescent actually you consume more light. So okay, during the VM study, or right now we propose that, okay, we want to use the LED, because you said that, oh, LED, or actually it give you a better cost saving and so on, correct? But you know that even you are using the LED, it won't last forever, ma. You still need the replacements, ma, because it might spoil, ma, correct? So probably you need to identify, you need to come out, oh, for this LED, what will be the lifespan? So if let's say your LED light you can use for 3 years, for instance. Okay, you can use for 3 years. Then that means that every 3 years you need to replace, correct? So that means that you need to come out an idea that, oh, every 3 years I need to replace. So you need to come out. So every 3 years this will be the cost. Every 3 years this will be the cost. Every 3 years this will be the cost, until you assume that what will be the lifespan of your building. Let's say you assume your building is 30 years. So that means that you need to replace 10 times, 10 times or 9 times. So you need to calculate for this 9 times of replacement, what will be the cost. So in other words, what you all have learned in the financial, what is that subject? Financial. You have learned one subject one, talking about present value, future value one. QS student, okay, you need to refresh the memory, okay, because this you will be using in this chapter later, of course not today. Okay, you need to refresh what is meant by present value, future value. For BP student, I would suggest that you need to go through, of course you can attend the lecture first. After that, to understand better, you need to make clear what is meant by present value, future value of annuity of 1 ringgit, present value of annuity of 1 ringgit. You need to get know of this concept, okay, because you will need it in your assignment. Okay, can so basically this actually will be what this will be the cost will be involved. Okay, so meaning to say that here you need to have your initial cost. Of course, your initial cost, of course, you need to be logic lah, including your unit rate. Okay, how you get your unit rate, how you get your unit rate, you need to be able to show people lah. Okay, then of course you have your quantity. Okay, your source of cost data you need to have lah. That means that your initial cost, you come up with your quantity, your unit rate, your cost data. Okay, should be included with the cost calculation that are provided as a backup of the proposal. So meaning to say that lah. Okay, so for your backup, not only you need to have your original costing, but you also have your proposed costing, ma. Both of this initial costing, your original costing, as well as your proposed costing, those kind of data, it need to be reliable. Put it simple. You need to have the source. Cannot just simply say that, okay, this unit cost actually is this price. That's this price without any justification. It cannot be. Okay, you must be able to justify. Okay, so therefore here, okay, I mentioned here, okay, you need future value, present value, all of this actually you will learn it later. Okay, so since right now you notice that, whoa, right now since costing is very needed, so that's why I said your VM workshop usually is attended by those very senior people, very experienced people, because they are able to give you the the cost implication. If let's say If let's say you have a insufficient team member or you have a insufficient cost data, of course you can get from the what call your own database, or you can go for the pricing data. You can buy the data. Can? Okay, I quickly, what is the time now? Okay, never mind. We complete to a few more slides. Okay, so due to the time constraint, the pricing might need to be appropriate in nature. The pricing may need be okay, because sometimes is that you due to your time constraint, right? And then some more you are talking about the future value and so on. So your costing you need to be as accurate as possible. Lor. That means that you cannot be deviate so much. Lor. You try to works on within the budget. Lor. So that means that that's why your QS, your estimator, very, very important in this case. Okay, so where there's a need of high degree of estimating accuracy, it might be worldwide to supplement the VM team estimator. Okay, so meaning to say that here, if let's say you feel that right now talking about the costing, you worry about the costing, you don't know how it will deviate. So actually you can get an additional estimator. Okay, that means that at least you have one assistant to help you to work on the cost. Okay, so of course all the costing need to be completed by the end of the study phase lah. So that means that after your development phase, your costing should come out already. That means that including, you will tell people your original cost. This one is the original design, the original cost. Right now you have the alternative design. This will be the alternative cost. So to what whether it will save or it will incur, actually you have all the backup, you have all the relevant detail. This is what it means. Okay, maybe I just give you all to see some of the example. The typical one of the individual proposal. Of course, you can adopt this in your assignment. Okay. So let's say you talk about a project. Okay, a project. So right now, your project, of course, this one you won't write your case studies lah. Okay, of course, in your assignment, you write what is your project about lah. Then of course, you can write your proposal. You can write your proposal. So you have your original description of your project. You have your description of your proposal, as mentioned in earlier slide. Okay, 1, 2 here. Description of your original design, description of your alternative proposal. So you have 1, 2 here. Okay, of course. Oh, sorry. Project. This one is just the naming of the project. Sorry, just like usually we have cadangan, pembinaan, dua tingkat, di atas, lot, blah 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 blah. Atas mungkin, Selangor, Talau, Esan, something like that. Then here you explain about your original design. Okay, so proposal here is what actually you what actually going to change lah. Of course, the proposed change, this one can have a more detail lah. Okay, so you have a description of your original design, description of your proposed design. Then you talk about advantages, talk about disadvantages. Okay, then you have your discussion session. Discussion session, just to mention, you have 3 things you can discuss. Okay, reason behind, implication, procedure. So you can write it there. Okay, you can write it under the discussion session. Then here is your costing. For this part, we will be studying in detail next week. Okay, we will be studying in detail next week. So this will be your example of the individual proposal. So that means that one idea is not individual, means that this one is not a person. Don't misinterpret this one as a person. This one is the idea. This one is an example of what of one idea. Example of one idea, of an idea. Okay. Then of course, let's say you talk about the summary of the proposal. You have a different ideas, right? You also can have this summary. Okay. You also can adopt this in your assignment if you want. Can? Okay, I think most likely we don't have enough time. So most likely today we will be stopping here. Okay, we will be stopping here. And then next week, definitely we will complete the last two phases. Okay, so I still have about 3 minutes like that. Okay, I need to explain a bit on your assignment because seems like I noticed that there are some problem. I think some of you have a misunderstanding about your assignment. Okay, for your assignment, most of you, some of you actually you ask me, is it we after we conduct the cost to worth table, after we conduct the function analysis, that means that the cost to worth table, then we only know that the project has problem. Okay, to answer this, you cannot. Yes, partially is correct, but it's wrong as well. Why I say so? Because for VM, your problem already exist before your VM workshop. Your VM is not the tools for you to detect your problem. It's not saying that right now your project there's no issue at all. Then you purposely go and ask someone, come, join my VM study, and then right now we want to detect is there any problem for my project or not. Not such thing. So that means that you are not using the VM, you are not using the cost to worth, you are not using the functional analysis to detect the problem. Yes, you can say actually is to detect the poor value, but it's not to detect the problem. Because some of you are asked, if let's say I didn't do the cost to worth table, how am I going to know my that respective item got problem? You ask me like that. Okay, don't forget, I already mentioned initially your problem already exists. So meaning to say that, let's say initial your project, let's say already budget burst. Your budget burst, initial your budget already burst. You know that let's say within a half year, it rise to 500,000. Okay, 500,000. So what happened is that, okay, I use the practical scenario, much easier to explain. For the practical one, you all still remember the practical one? Okay, we talk about practical one. Okay, I use the practical one as the example. Okay, here is the scenario, correct? Here you mentioned that, the site for MRT is a marshy location. Then actually it is traversed by the existing rail line. Then actually it had to continue operate. Then some more during the progress of the foundation work, the client found that the current progress claim had actually exceed their initial budget. Okay, so therefore this is the problem that the client face. That means that right now the client, they know that yes, we have exceeded budget, but what are the root causes that cause the initial budget exceed? They do not know yet. That's why you need the VM study. So in other words, before you VM study, you already should have a what call a general problem there, a big general problem there. So that's why you need the VM study to help you to dig out what actually happens. It's not saying that I'm right now, my project is nothing. Therefore, I use the VM, then I adopt the cost to worth table. Then, yes, this one is a less than 2. This one got problem. Not such thing. Meaning to say that, okay, let's say I use back to this scenario. Oh, you know that, your current progress claim had exceeded their initial budget cost. Because when you have this problem, it might be due to different issue. The reason might be due to you have over design. It might be due to your construction issue. It might be due to your maybe your material, so and so forth. So right now your VM study is to help you to identify the root cause. So in this case, you notice that, okay, yeah, they during the foundation work. Okay, so probably you will zoom in, you will focus on this foundation work. So therefore, you will equip all the info first, correct? Okay, so during the function analysis phase, you will try to study. Okay, what are the function of this foundation work? So you will try to identify. Okay, either this, either that, either this, either that. Okay, so of course, for this reason, I mean, for this case, of course, you're trying to identify. Okay, for the design, is there any problem? Okay, for the construction method, is there any problem? So that means that you are studying a different possibility. So that after that, you know that, oh, there's a problem with the design. Let's say the design issue. Then you only you only able to identify Okay, put it simple lah. Your assignment, put it simple. All you need to assume a general big problem first. Let's say I mentioned talk about budget cost, budget burst. But right now, let's say you do not know. Let's say your project talk about is your mixed development for example mixed development. Your project is a mixed development. Let's say right now your general problem is that your budget burst. Well, right now you do know what is the root cause But of course, before you VM workshop, you have the breakdown of your cost correct? Although you mentioned about it's a mixed development. You mixed development, that means that you have a shop lot, okay? You have the residential unit, residential unit. Then of course you have the what I call external work and so on. So initially, the cost is divided. I mean, you break down already the cost. Then of course you will know, okay, which part actually currently you face the over cost. Let's say coincidentally you know that end out is a residential unit. They exceeded my budgeted cost. So right now you will move into a VM to study about the residential unit. What actually is the reason that trigger the the over budget to this residential unit? Get the idea? It's not saying that until I purposely start this VM workshop, then I go to study all of these items. Then I only notice that the work cost to work for this residential is more than 2. So that's why I propose. No. Because initially your problem is there already. Your VM study is to know, yes, we know that your residential need there's something wrong. You need to know what actually is the factor behind. Is it your design problem? Is it your construction problem? Or is it due to any method? Is overpricing or what? Your VM actually is to dig out this issue. So that's why in your assignment, after you're getting your what I call your project, you need to assume that what actually the client wants for the changes. What the client wants for the changes. You need to assume that first. Or you can assume a scenario first. Whether it's budget burst or whether it's a client want a new changes, up to you. So that you have the scenario, then you only proceed for the problem analysis. Okay? Any problem so far? Hopefully each issue will need one complex democratic table. What do you think?